Hi folks, Karen here with BeyondTshirts.net, and it's Wednesday, so I'm putting out another video, and this one's just going to kind of be a behind the scenes about me type video about my education background, my business background, and we're going to start from when I was about, let's just say 16, so 50 years. My first job was waiting tables, and I did that off and on for decades. And then I was working in a factory assembling videotape cases, and then I also worked at a factory doing molten lead little models. If you remember the Dungeons and Dragons from years ago, we made the little models that went into that game. And then while I was there, I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. I can't be doing this kind of work anymore. I was a single mom with 2 kids, no child support, so I had to work, but I also knew I needed to do something better with my life. So on a 9th grade education and a GED, I decided to go to college. So I started out at Widener University in Chester. I was there for 1 semester, and then I switched over to the community college. And I was there for 3 semesters. Made president's list the first semester. The following 2 semesters, I was on the dean's list, and I was editor of the campus newspaper. The one thing I always excelled in when I was in school, and especially in college, was English, which was, grammar, writing, that kind of thing. I always got A's on my term papers and my essays and stuff like that. So my major was business management or business administration. And I decided to just stick with that because way back during that time, if you wanted a secretary position or any type of administrative position, you had to have some college. So I did do that. And then when my son started school, I had to go back to work because at the time I was on public assistance and Section 8 and all that fun stuff. And when my son turned 5 and started school, the public assistance place made me go back to work. So that's what I did. So I got a job at Boeing, and then I moved out of the county and got a job at QVC, and eventually landed a full-time job with a metal manufacturing place, a beryllium copper. And I was there for just about 5 years when I was downsized. So back on unemployment, and my unemployment caseworker said, well, why don't you go back to school and finish your degree? So that's what I did. Transferred all my credits from the community college over to a business school and got a specialized associate degree in business management. So I did finally get my associate's degree. And from there I worked at night court in the city for a couple of years, and then I was working at the prison for a couple of years. And I finally landed a job with a pharmaceutical. What did they do? They were a consulting firm for pharmaceutical companies. And I was there for just about 3 years when I lost that job. So when I lost that job, I decided to go take some refresher courses at the college. So I did that for a couple months and then decided to launch my own business. So I was doing at-home transcription work because the last job that I had, I was my primary responsibility was transcribing other pharmaceutical companies, their webcasts and that for their financial statuses and that kind of thing. So I did some at-home transcription, and I did pretty good. I had a guy that he's now passed away, but he worked at the newspaper. He came out and did a story on me as far as working at home and my college and that kind of thing. So that was pretty cool. Kind of felt important. I also, during all this time, enrolled and finished a course through Writer's Digest for short story and novel writing. I never did anything with it, but at least I proved I could pass another course. So, let's see, what else? That pretty much took care of my education and my jobs. So the last full-time job that I had was through a temp agency, and that was back in '06. And that was when all kinds of physical ailments started showing up, and I ended up out on permanent disability. So I've been in home permanent now since 2006, and I've done some blogging here and there. I had a blog for a couple of years about vaping. I had another blog for a couple of years about weddings. I sold the wedding blog. I just shut down the vape blog. And then I had a work at home blog for a while that was just under my own name. And that was where I talked about how to do, set up websites and how to, edit themes and stuff like that. And I closed that when I launched the wedding site, I think. I don't remember. My YouTube channels, on this channel in particular, probably you won't find anything older than 2013. But I have been on YouTube since probably 07, 08, something like that. Because I did have a YouTube channel that was all about our fight with Bank of America trying to take our house during that whole implosion thing there with the robo-signing of, it was a big freaking mess. But Bank of America was just trying to take our house. They didn't. We're still here. But I closed that channel up once everything got resolved. I shut that down. Then I had a YouTube channel about nail art. So I was doing that for a while. I kind of got bored with that, so I shut that down. And that was a separate channel. And then I had another separate YouTube channel that had to do with my vaping. And I think I launched that, I want to see, about 2011, 2012. I had that for a couple of years, but then I shut that down. So I've been on YouTube for several years. I've just never really pursued it as anything, for making money from it. I just do it because I can. But yeah, the videos I've done the best with are ones where I'm doing screen share and showing people how to do things. So, like, I used to write for Text Broker, so I have a couple of videos on Text Broker. I have a couple of videos on using the Generate Press theme inside WordPress, how to set up WordPress on GoDaddy, that kind of thing. And those are the videos that always did the best for me. So when I quit doing the work at home blog and I switched over to the my t-shirt thing, which I launched in 2016, I just really haven't done a lot with it. But now I'm starting to at least be somewhat consistent in putting out a blog post a week and a video a week. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, that's pretty much my education and business background. I will say I'm self-taught in just about everything I know how to do now. When I finished college, the colleges were still teaching Windows 3.0 and Windows 3.1 as options off of a DOS menu. If anybody's out there is old enough to remember that stuff, that's how I learned computers, was on a DOS menu with an old IBM XT or whatever, an big old computer. And so from there, I taught myself, like the job I was at, we were still using WordPerfect and something else. And so I taught myself Microsoft Word, and then I taught myself the Office suite when they started getting into the Microsoft Office suites. So I taught myself that. And right about when YouTube started coming out and people were doing videos on how to do stuff, that's where I learned a lot of my stuff. So like I had taught myself Photoshop, and I had the legacy CS2 program. But then as I got new computers that were updated, the programs were too old to operate on the newer systems. So I had to learn how to do Paint.net, which is like a Photoshop clone. I love Paint.net. I also have GIMP and Inkscape downloaded on my computer, but I don't really use them a whole lot because I really haven't taken the time to teach myself how to do those, because I'm pretty comfortable with Paint.net since I used Photoshop a lot. So I primarily just fall back on what I'm used to, because sometimes things are just too, like, why do I want to learn this new stuff when I'm comfortable with what I already have? That's like this video. Twice I've tried to do it on OBS, and I couldn't get the settings right on it. And then when I played it back, the audio wasn't syncing with the video. So I went on YouTube to try and figure out how to do that. And it's like, what? You know what? I'm going to get Movie Maker for Windows 10, and I'll just stick with what I know, because I've been using Windows Movie Maker for years now. I used it under my Windows XP. I used it under Windows 7. And that's like now. I have Windows 10. It came with the latest computer that I got last year, and I was like, I don't like Windows 10 interface. There's got to be a way to make this thing act and function like Windows 7. Fortunately, I'm not the only person out there who feels that way. And somebody did make a plug-in type thing, a little mini program, which I learned about it on YouTube. And I downloaded that and installed it. So now I've got the classic looking Windows 7 on my computer, and I can still operate it. So, yeah. So when I noticed that my Windows 10 didn't have Movie Maker in it, I was like, oh, no, I got to get it back. So I went out online and started hunting and stuff, and finally found Movie Maker for Windows 10 and downloaded that. So I know how to use this program, so that's why I'm sticking to this. But it's funny. I just turned 66 last weekend, and I get a kick out of these memes that go around where the grandkid is calling, the grandma calls the grandkid to say, how do you do this, Junior? And they're like, well, Grandma, you have to do. I'm just the opposite. I am just the opposite. My kids complain so much about how much time I was spending on a computer. They're like, you're always on a computer, Mom. Why don't you ever get off of that computer? Well, my kids are 43 and 49 now. Well, when they moved out decades ago and got their own computers, guess who they called? They called Mom. Because Mom knew how to do stuff on the computer. I'm like, not complaining anymore, are you? Sometimes even my one grandson will call me and say, how do you do this? How do you do that? So I'm just the opposite. I'm the one that everybody in the family comes to when they need something done on a computer. Because I'm self-taught in all these programs. Now, as far as Microsoft Office, I did have that on an old computer. But when I got the new computer, it wasn't on there. And that's expensive. So I was like, I am not buying another Office Suite program. So I learned OpenOffice, which actually acts just the same way as the Microsoft Office Suite does. I really, really like it, and it doesn't use up as much room as Microsoft Office. So that's, I use that for doing my documents. No, I don't use Google Docs. No. When I'm creating documents, they're on my computer. They're not up on the cloud. I do not use Google Docs at all. Unless somebody else has put something in Google Docs for me to edit. Like when my grandson was doing his resume when he got done school, he started it in a Google Docs. So, yeah, I went on there. But what I did was I downloaded it and worked on it on my computer and then put it back up so he could access it. Yeah, so that was pretty much how it ended up with me. I have a stepdaughter that's younger than my grandson. And I had to show her how to do things on the computer. So I think she's pretty much picked up stuff from school. But, yeah, so that's with me. I kind of finally feel like technology caught up with me. Because I spent so much time on the computer learning different software programs. And it was like, I want something to do this or do that. And it's like, oh, finally, they made a program to do that. So as far as my t-shirts, I think I talked about this in a previous video. That, yes, we did invest in a heat press and sublimation printers. And my grandson gifted us with a Cricut machine. And the funny thing is that we had it 2 years, and I decided to upgrade to the next one. He had gotten us an Explorer 2, and my husband got me a Cricut Maker 3 last year for Christmas. And the funny part is that now that when things need to be done on a Cricut, my grandson calls me, can you do this? Can you do that? Because with his working full-time, he's a mechanic, and when he works full-time, he's got his side gigs. He doesn't always have time to sit and play around with his Cricut. So he said to me, he says, geez, I got you one and you use it more than I do. I'm like, yeah. I love it. It's fun. I can do things, all kinds of things with it. Sometimes I do a lot of paper crafts, so I'll see somebody on YouTube's doing a paper craft, and then what I do is I redesign it in the Cricut Design Space program so that I don't have to cut things manually. I'm not a big manual person. If I can do it on the Cricut and have the Cricut cut it out for me and stuff, that's how I'm going to do it. It's like with AI. I've gotten into doing a lot of AI even for articles and blog posts, images. Yeah, it's fun. I guess I'm like a computer geek grandma. That's what I am. But it's fun. It keeps me busy because I'm home most of the time. So, our activities, our social life, for all intents and purposes, revolves around the church. So, and we live almost an hour away from church. So I don't get to go down to the church as often as I like to get involved in all the activities that are going around. So, and I don't like to shop. I hate to shop. I am not a shopper. My husband is the shopper. So when he's going to be out somewhere, I give him a list. Here, while you're out, get this, get that. Yeah, he's the shopper. I'm not. I'm a homebody. I was a homebody when I was a teenager. I've just never had a problem with being by myself. I guess I like me. But okay, well, this video is going on about long enough. I think I covered just about everything I needed to cover. And now it's time to say goodbye and edit this. But also, before I go, head over to my website and subscribe. This way you'll get notified whenever I put a new blog post up. And subscribe here and give me a thumbs up like. And leave me a comment. Ask me questions. What do you want to know? About me or about what I do, what I know, what I don't know. If you need to know something, I'll see if I can find it out for you, whatever. But if you're still here, thank you for watching to the end. I'm trying to boost up my view hours here. So if you feel so inclined, share it with your grandma. All right. Take it easy. God bless.